West Hobart Haunted House. West Hobart is a historic inner-city suburb in Tasmania, Australia, known for its old-world charm, and as some would claim, a supernatural undercurrent. Over the years, residents and tourists alike have reported numerous stories of haunting, ghost sightings, and paranormal activity in the area. While the majority of these stories have been debunked or lacked sufficient evidence to support the claims, one peculiar case from the late 1980s and early 1990s stood out as it harbored some measure of truth. The tale centers around a house in West Hobart that was rumored to be so haunted it drove its occupants to madness. Initially, the rumors spread like wildfire, creating unease among locals who sought to keep their distance from the so-called haunted house. Months later, authorities intervened to investigate the mysterious situation. What they uncovered, however, had nothing to do with ghosts or paranormal forces. Instead, the house's residents had been unknowingly exposed to a very real and dangerous culprit, a deter vine growing above the home. This vine had been dropping leaves into the family's rainwater tank for an extended period. As a result, they were unintentionally consuming microdoses of the plant every day. Over time, this led to a gradual descent into delirium and mental instability. The plant in question was datura, a member of the nightshade family, also known as Jimsonweed, devil's weed, or devil's trumpet. Though it appears harmless at first glance, datura possesses incredibly powerful hallucinogenic properties and is notorious for its dangerous effects. Historically, datura has played a role in various spiritual ceremonies. For centuries, Native American tribes used its potent hallucinogenic qualities in coming-of-age rituals and other significant events. The Aztecs utilized it as both a painkiller and an element in ritual sacrifices. In Haitian Vodou practices, it's often referred to as the devil's cucumber, and used in zombification ceremonies. Despite its ceremonial uses, datura is recognized today as highly toxic and dangerous. Even in small doses, it can cause extremely distressing, delirious experiences, while higher doses risk paralysis and even death. Most tribal communities now avoid using it altogether due to its toxicity. So while eerie legends often captivate the imagination, this case serves as a reminder that some chilling stories are rooted not in the supernatural but in science, highlighting an unsettling encounter with one of nature's truly hazardous plants. Before wrapping up this discussion, let's take a quick detour to talk about War Thunder, a sponsor of this video. Recently, I've developed a keen interest in history, particularly around World War I and World War II, which makes this partnership with War Thunder even more exciting. War Thunder is an immersive multiplayer action game that allows you to command a diverse range of ground vehicles, aircraft, and naval vessels across global battlefields. It's free to play and accessible on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. My name is Sohan from Bogura. Today I want to share a real incident that I heard from a rickshaw puller. I have presented the story in his own words. If you like it, please narrate it. I am from a poor family. I studied up to HSC. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was an unemployed young man. Even though I searched for jobs, I was drowning in frustration. Despite my family's financial crisis, I found it difficult to adjust myself to honest work. One day, I got introduced to a well-known thief in our area. I started calling him Master, and decided to work with him. At first, we used to commit small thefts, stealing household items and animals, and then dividing the profit. Gradually, I also became a well-known thief like my master. Then one day, through a medical teacher, we received a terrifying offer. The job was to collect old skeletons from graves and supply them to medical institutions. Although I was hesitant at first, I didn't have the courage to disobey my master. This work brought us a lot of money overnight, but deep inside, my fear kept increasing. Even though the work felt extremely inhuman, I was forced to do it for my livelihood. As time passed, one day a tantric offered us an even more horrifying job, promising double the money. His demand was to bring only the head of a corpse from a grave. I felt conflicted, but my master agreed anyway. Through extreme fear and suffering, I got involved in that work as well. One day, news of our secret activity started spreading among the villagers. At that time, a peer spiritual leader called us and humbly requested that after his death, we should not touch his grave. For this, he gave us a good amount of money, and we promised that we would never go against his words. But 1 year later, that peer passed away. At that time, the same tantric came to us again and pressured us to bring the pier's head from his grave. I firmly refused, saying it was not possible because we had made a promise. But blinded by greed, my master agreed. This decision became extremely difficult for me because I had never gone against him before. Finally, in the deep darkness of night, we went to the pier's grave. As we dug the grave, my whole body was trembling. When my master finally tried to cut off the pier's head, something supernatural happened. We saw that there were two bodies in the grave. One was the pier and the other was my master himself. Seeing this, both of us were shocked. Within moments, the pier's dead body seemed to come alive. He grabbed my master by the throat and killed him right there. Witnessing everything, I collapsed on the ground and lost consciousness out of fear. When I opened my eyes, I saw villagers standing around me. They were asking why I was there and what had happened. I tried to explain everything, but no one believed me. Instead, everyone called me mad. Then people decided to examine the grave again. Would anyone believe me that day? Time would tell. When the grave was opened, everyone saw that it was true. The pier was holding my master's throat tightly. They tried to separate the body but failed. No matter what they did, they couldn't remove the pier's hands from my master's neck. In the end, both the pier and my master were buried in the same grave. The pier's family forgave me and said, "Never do such sinful work again. From now on, earn in a lawful way." Since then, I started earning my living by driving a rickshaw. Now I am Tanvir Tushar. My village is in Gaibandha. Today's story is about a neighbor named Sada Mia. I have known him since childhood. Now he is about 35 years old. He was born into a lower middle-class family and was quiet and calm from a young age. He had a deep interest in Islam, the Quran, and Hadith from early childhood. One afternoon, when he was 7 years old, he went to Noya Bandar market with his father. While walking in the market, he saw a sweet shop and wanted to eat sweets. His father bought about a quarter kilogram of sweets and gave him the bag, telling him to go home while he would return later. It was getting late in the evening. After leaving the market, he waited to see if anyone else was going toward his home so he could go with them. But after waiting for 10 minutes and finding no one, he started walking home alone. The road between the market and his home had a river on one side and paddy fields on the other, with an old graveyard in the middle, locally known as Malvita. Evening was approaching, so he needed to cross quickly. When he reached a large tree, suddenly he saw a black shadow drop from the tree and disappear. He got scared and prepared to run. Just then, something pushed him hard from behind. The push was so strong that he fell forward and the bag flew away. In fear, he quickly picked up the bag and ran home. After reaching the yard, he screamed loudly and fainted. Hearing the scream, his mother and elder brother came out and found him unconscious. When he regained consciousness, he told everything. But surprisingly, the sweets were missing from the bag. Even after searching with a light, no one found them. Later, a local religious healer performed rituals and gave him blessed water. After some time, his family admitted him to a madrasa far from home. It was a residential madrasa, surrounded by a large pond, fields, and jungle. The place was quite isolated. His madrasa life started during winter, when everything was covered in thick fog. After 2 normal days, something strange happened on the 3rd night. He had a terrifying dream. He saw a black figure rising slowly from the pond beside the madrasa and coming toward him, calling his name. When he woke up, he could still hear the voice calling him. Out of fear, he woke another student. As soon as the other student woke up, the sound stopped. Later, he heard faint crying sounds. The next night, the crying became louder, as if someone was crying near the door. Suddenly, there was a loud noise on the tin roof and everyone woke up. They found a huge stone in the yard. But by morning, the stone had disappeared. A few days later, a new student joined. One night, a teacher saw him walking toward the pond. When stopped, the boy said he had been dreaming of a black figure calling him. Later, that same boy was found dead in the pond. Years later, Sada Mia's life became even stranger. One evening, while returning home by the river path, he heard rustling in the bushes. Thinking it might be an animal, he picked up a stick. Suddenly, a horrifying black figure appeared in front of him. Its face was deformed, with white eyes and a rotten smell. Terrified, he ran toward the market. After that, he fell seriously ill, fever, vomiting, and mental instability. He stopped praying and gradually lost his sanity. His family locked him in a room. One day, despite being locked, he disappeared. People later saw him walking on water and then vanishing. 3 days later, his body was found under a tree, completely dry despite heavy rain. After that, his behavior changed. He started making clay idols, worshipping them, and speaking strange words. Villagers later found a pot buried near his house containing talismans, blood-stained items, and ritual objects. A religious healer said he was under black magic. After treatment, he recovered for some time. But later, his condition worsened again. He began talking to invisible entities, wandering aimlessly and acting strangely. It was said he used an old book of magic and brought trouble upon himself. Now people call him Sada Pagol. Every day he walks around sprinkling water and muttering unknown words. He lives in his own world, talking to unseen beings, crying and asking forgiveness from something invisible. Sometimes he disappears for 3 days, and each time he returns, someone close to him dies soon after. This story is stranger than fiction. Once, Sada Mia was a respected imam and hafiz. Thinking about how a life can change so drastically is heartbreaking. Everyone should pray for him, that Allah grants him healing and brings him back to a normal life. Thank you, Tanvir Tushar, for sharing this touching story. It reminds us of life's uncertainty and the importance of compassion for those in need.